Turning on my microphone would be very helpful for the dolls on YouTube. All right, let us try that again. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cello Tip 2 Thursday live stream. It's so great to see you all. Today, Chelly and I, who is on my left, are here to help you with your practice room goals, ambitions, and answer any questions you have, even if you're just curious about life as a musician, about the instruments I play. So any questions you have, this is kind of a chance for all of us to hang out and talk with one another. I will say, for the second time since I've moved to Las Vegas, there is rain, and I think I'm hearing some thunder. So I'm crossing my fingers that the connection holds for this live stream. But yeah, I mean, I've been here since November, and this is only, I think, the second time it's rained. So that's okay. We will have showers and a moody atmosphere for our stream. So I am going to grab Chelly, who is hanging out right here. I hope you dolls are all doing well today. I hope you're having a wonderful week. The weekend is coming up, boy! Very excited for the weekend. Here's Chelly. Hello, Chelly. All right. All right, so let me get situated. All right, so I would love to see what your questions are, what is on your mind for practicing. Any questions, any tips you would like us to go over? Check out the Instagram chat. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. So wonderful to see you all here to learn and grow as a musician or cellist. I'm curious if any of you dolls out there are interested in a music career or have just started out on your music career. Maybe you're fresh out of college or thinking about going to college. Anytime, totally up for talking about that kind of stuff. We have our first question on YouTube. Thank you so much. Any thoughts on playing scales fast? It's hard. No, thoughts on playing scales fast. I think it can be very helpful, especially if you're playing fast repertoire, like traditionally, the last movement of a concerto is usually fast. And I will say it is harmful to do if you have unnecessary tension. Because with uncertainty and tension, your body gets stressed, and then we get more rigid because we're anxious and we're trying to play fast. So it's kind of the analogy of the snake eating its own tail. So I would say, and I just posted a funny Instagram reel about this, the value of practicing slowly is super valuable. And I'll see if the audio is available on YouTube, because I think you dolls on YouTube would get a kick out of it too. But what I would say is start slowly and focus on your body. Have great body awareness. So you could do something like slurring 2. That's an example. So focus on feeling grounded in the instrument. Again, the weight in your bow hand is going to be pulling the string from underneath. This is something I've been talking a lot with my students about, and really having the bow on the string, and imagine you're pulling it this way. Your weight is on the string, pulling it down. A lot of students think they have to apply the weight from above, and that is a huge mistake. That is something that took me a long time in my earlier years to figure out. Is you don't weigh it down this way. It's this kind of weight motion. So you're saying, well, Carolyn, or Cello Doll, whatever you want to call me is fine, but I want to play fast. Well, if you're tense in the bow hand, you're going to be tense here. So it is related, even though your ultimate goal is faster scales. So I would start with slur 2 as I demonstrated, and then you can do slur 4. And that's already a little bit faster. And then stick with the slur 4. There might have been a 5 in there, I'm not sure. Speed that up gradually. And then do it a little faster. And the whole time, you need to be sure your facilities are moving easily. There is no shame in sticking with one tempo for a while. I'm just demonstrating for the sake of time. But if you spend a week on the medium tempo, that's absolutely fine. What you can do, and I love to do this with my scale warm-up, is, of course, I use a metronome, and I do have a scale cycle for advanced players. It's very challenging if you want to try it out, but it doesn't matter what level you are. Take your metronome, do scales maybe around 60 or 70. The next week, up it 6 to 10 clicks, so 76 or 80. The next week, up at 10 clicks or 6, so 86, 90-ish. And you keep doing it in this relatively smaller interval. You don't want to do something crazy like 90 beats per minute to 120. You want to gradually do it, I would say 6 to 10 clicks a week, so plus 6 or 10. And I think that's a great way to ease into faster scales. And once you do the slur 4 well, try it separate, because separate is a little harder because the hands have to line up. If they're a little bit off, which I'm going to try to do. So I'm trying to make this faster. The tone is mushy because the bow can't catch up. So it's important that they're in sync. So starting with the slur is good. You can also do, for a slur exercise, just an octave. Like that. So you can slur it in octaves. And again, feel, excuse me, feel the weight pulling down here as well, in addition to your bow. Okay, so you would do those up and down, and it's another variation on playing scales fast. So again, starting slow to medium and then speeding your way into it is something I would highly recommend, I really hope that answers your question. I believe this is Eli. So let me know if that helps or if you have a follow-up question. Next question. Do you have any tips on improving overall sound? Eliminating sound from unintended strings and/or eliminating little squeaks. Thank you so much. This is from Sally on YouTube. So Sally, I actually have a video, two-part video series for you that I think will be great. It's already up. It is the most common mistakes for beginners and how to fix them. So it's a two-part video series where I go into depth on the bow and I talk exactly about that. Squeaks, unintentionally playing two strings at once. So I would highly recommend that video to you, but of course I'm going to answer your question here as well. It's just that video is going to really go very much in depth, but I'm going to give a little overview. So basically what Sally is asking about is unintentional sounds, which happens. It happens to everybody. And so a couple things, well, they're related. I was just talking about this with the bow weight, feeling like it's pulling this way. You don't want to feel like you're pressing on top. You want to feel like you're sinking into the string. So that's already going to help with a lot of things. If I have a heavy bow arm, my bow's not going to slide this way, so up and down. You're going to have a stable, what we call contact point. So vertically, where is my bow? You want it in one spot for now. There are circumstances where you are going to move it, but having it in a stable contact point is good. If I slide around, you're going to hear the sound kind of wave and change all these volumes. And the reason that happens is you cause the string to vibrate from one point, then you slide to a different point and the string goes, oh no, I got to start vibrating all over again. Then you slide again. Oh, I got to start a third time, a fourth time. So you're changing the point where the string is activated. Whereas if you stay in that one spot, you're going to build some awesome vibrations. So okay, I got a little carried away there. I was feeling the music and not keeping track. Like I said, it happens to everybody. So verses. You see the sound, it just doesn't sound as hefty. So that's one thing, is having a low elbow. So turn to the side. I need to make sure YouTube is behind by a few seconds, so I have to make sure it's visible. Yeah. So the low elbow is going to be very helpful. So it's this V shape. And a common mistake is people have their elbow on par with their wrist. That's better. Sorry. Sometimes demonstrating incorrectly is challenging, but it's important to do for teaching. You see how they're kind of on the same plane? Well, if I keep everything level, that's where you can get some of the strings creeping in. But if I have a low elbow and a slightly perky wrist, don't overdo it, because that's going to lock your wrist. Just a gentle curve. It's going to raise my bow up a little bit. It's going to raise it up a little bit. And that's going to keep you from hitting the lower string. So if I'm playing along, I heard the G string raise a little bit. Make sure my elbow's cozy and keep going. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. So what I'm doing is when I hear something that I know is incorrect, I freeze and I evaluate what's going on with my body and how everything's lined up. So again, you want to aim for this V, and again, you can do too much of a good thing. And that was something I was so guilty of because I was trying to be such an overachiever. I would go to the extreme in correcting myself. Some argue that I still do that, and I believe them. But no, it's good to tweak things a little bit, and that's something. Just try tweaking it a little bit. You still hear a string creeping in a little bit more. And if you hear a higher string, well then we're too high. Sorry, I'm tilting for Instagram. Then we're a little too high in the elbow. It's tricky live streaming landscape for YouTube and portrait for Instagram. I have two. I gotta line you all up just right, but it's totally worth it so you both can see this stream is more accessible. So if you hear a higher string creep in, your bow arm is probably too high. Maybe even your shoulder is too high or your elbow's too high. If you hear a lower string creeping in, maybe you have a flat wrist and you just need to have, it's a little like dainty, yes, hello darling, like little dainty, I don't know. I don't want you to crank your wrist. It's just a little, like a little wave, little light wrist. Okay, so I hope that covers your question, Sally, about, let's see, eliminating sound from unintended strings, yep. Eliminating squeaks, yep. So again, it goes back to the bow arm weight, your contact point. So is my bow sliding up and down or am I right in the middle? Okay, that's important. And then, that'll also help with the squeak. Sorry, I was so excited by another question. I was skimming the question mid-sentence. So I think that covers everything you asked. Again, if I cover, one of my buddies is in the chat, one of my good friends. I'm just so excited when I see stuff pop up. Again, if you ask a question on this live stream and you find, she misunderstood my question, type a follow-up and I'll go back to your point because I want to make sure you get what you need from these streams. Joshua on YouTube, I see you. I'm gonna hop to Instagram really quick and then get back to you because we haven't done an Instagram question, and this is from my personal friend and cello family, Frank Bell. For those of you who don't know Frank Bell, he is a cellist, singer-songwriter, guitarist, beautiful human being. Go check out his stuff on Spotify, and he's on all the socials. Frank Bell. Exactly spelt how it sounds for Frank Bell. I love you, Frank. He's based in New York City. He says, quick question. If you only had 3 scales to play every day, ooh, we're getting into a philosophical question. If you only had 3 scales to play or practice every day, what scales would they be and why? Also miss you. Oh, I miss you too, Frank. So Frank is kind of asking like a deserted island question. It sounds like if I could only play 3 scales, only 3, what would they be and why? That's a hard one. So one of them is going to be in C because that's the fundamental of the cello and that's where the most resonance is. So oftentimes cello music is written in C or G. I mean, if you think about it, you have the Haydn Cello Concerto in C. 2 out of the 5 Bach cello suites are in C. And I think that's on purpose because the C string is our lowest note on the cello. So it has all of this resonance, all of these overtones. So I think, I'll get back to my second thought, but one of them would be C. And one of them would be C sharp, right? Because I practiced all the notes in C major. C sharp major covers all of the other notes. I don't know if you dolls, it depends on how far you are in your scales, because in C major, everything is natural. Everything is natural. In C sharp major, everything is sharp. So by doing C major and C sharp, I cover all the notes. Okay? So we have C major, C sharp major, and then I think I would do a harmonic minor scale, because you need variety for when you play music in minor. And I feel like to get variety, Frank, you are having my inner music theory nerd show, man. Oh my goodness, I'm so nerdy about this and way too analytical. Frank was probably wanting me to pick my favorite scales, and I'm thinking about what's gonna give me the most practice value, because I haven't even named my favorite keys. It's okay. Maybe I'll get to play them in repertoire. So my favorite key is D minor. That's my favorite key. Close seconds are G and C minor. But, so basically, for those of you who may not know music theory or be well versed, that is A-okay. But basically, the keys are all related to each other in some way. And to cover the most notes, I picked two scales that are right next door, C and C sharp. And then the other strategy would be to do a tritone away, because that's a very rare interval, the tritone. So think about C major, G sharp. I told you C major is all naturals. So to add G sharp in there, we're raising the fifth, C, D, E, F, G, G sharp. It's also the flat six, which is more common, I guess. So I would probably do something like A flat harmonic minor. Frank, I feel like I can feel you laughing at me from New York City right now. I can sense it. You're giggling at me. I need to scroll down and see if he's probably, LOL, I love it. He says he loves my nerdiness. Yeah, sorry. So I just totally overanalyzed the question, but that's my answers. Oh, Chelly, we'll move on, I promise. I'm sorry. He's telling me I'm talking too long, so C major. Oh my gosh, C major, C sharp major, A flat, harmonic minor. All right, to Joshua. Advice on skipping grades 4 to 6. I have good sound and can play some 3-octave scales. All right, so we're talking about skipping levels in cello repertoire. And I'm wondering, Joshua, if you're playing, because all method books are ranked kind of differently. So based off of Joshua's question, it sounds like he's playing a method book that is in certain levels. A very common one, excuse me, I need some water. Oh. Excuse me. So a very common ranked books, method books, are the Suzuki books, book 1, book 2, book 3, and I believe they go up to 12. And of course the concept is as you go through the books, they get more difficult. So Joshua, my question to you, I'm going to answer your question with a question. Can you, with a couple practice sessions, maybe 2 or 3, can you easily play the books, can you easily play the last piece of the grade 4, 5, and 6 book? Now, I promise I'm asking that with all the encouragement in the world. I think it would be valuable for you to try. So generally the harder pieces are towards the back of the book. And I would say take the last one or two pieces of 4, 5, and 6 and try to practice them for a couple weeks. Bring them to your teacher even and see what they say. You know, I feel like a teacher should be open to the conversation of, hey, I'm interested in learning harder music or more pieces. Do you think I am ready for that? And you have to understand, you need to trust the insight of your teacher. However, if you've been stuck on a piece and you feel like you're not getting value out of it, you don't feel like you're progressing, I really hope you're in a situation where you can sit down and talk with your teacher and say, hey, I know we're working on these skills. Could we bring these skills into a new piece? That's a good compromise. So, Joshua, if you're wondering about grades 4, 5, and 6, they might have techniques that your teacher wants you to learn. There might be techniques you don't know yet. But again, look at the last piece in grade 4, 5, and 6. Again, I'm guessing you're working out of a method book that grades the pieces. Kind of skim through the books and see if anything jumps out that you don't know. I would really hate for you to skip and then have to backtrack because there's a technique you haven't learned yet. So I really think that would be a way to challenge yourself. And if you decide, okay, grade 4 was good, but I think I do need some work on 5 to 6, that is in no way a reflection of your ability. I don't want you to feel like that's discouraging in any way, because either way you're going to grow. You're going to grow and get better, whether you're in grade 5, whether you're in grade 6, whether you're in grade 10. Like, the whole point of, and I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional about this, Joshua. Why? No, I really want to be an encouraging teacher for people because I've had instances of discouragement. And I know that's a very easy trap to fall into, unfortunately. So the only way, I shouldn't say the only, I'm sorry. A frequent way to grow is to find something you can't play. Now, granted, I mean, don't jump to Shostakovich concerto. You know what I mean. If you find a piece that you thought was at your level, but it's actually challenging you, you're going to get better no matter what. That's great. You are going to improve and learn things. That's the point. So, again, look at those books and see how you feel about them. And I did see in your question, you know, some 3-octave scales. Learn more. That's a great way to challenge yourself. Learn some more scales. Awesome. All right. Okay, we have a question on YouTube and a question on Instagram. Oh, I don't want to fall behind on these. I see my friend Cremaine, that cello guy. Hello. Hello, friend. Let us see here. There was a question. Here we go. Oh, someone called me Cello Maestra Carolyn. Wow. What a title. I hope I can live up to that hype. Did you begin scale, etude, music theory, etc. study right from the start of your career? I am deficient in these areas despite being advanced. Sure. So this question on Instagram is talking about kind of looking at music in a very academic scope. So music theory. think of music theory as grammar for English, kind of learning the rules, the structure. So music theory is what grammar is to English. Some people might disagree with me. It's the quickest analogy I just came up with. And etudes, scales, all these things. So to be honest with you, I did not start diving into music theory until I took classes in high school. I think it was my junior or senior year was my very first music theory class. And so I was 17 or 18, maybe 16, but I was most likely 17. By the time I was 17, I had been playing cello for 9 years. No, my math. Wait. It's been a long day. No, that's right. No, yes. 8 to 17 is 9 years. Holy cow. I'm sorry. Sorry, everyone. 9 years before I started music theory. And you know, I was playing in the Boston Youth Symphony Orchestras. I was actually playing in 2 youth orchestras. So I was pretty, you know, I was really playing hard music and concertos by then. So whether or not you call that advanced is relative, but I don't think it should discourage you if you start music theory. If you don't learn music theory until later, I don't think that should discourage you. I do think you should definitely dive more into the scale and etude land. I think that is very important. And also, your scales are critical to music theory, because I will say when I was in high school, I knew all of my major minor scales and I knew all the keys like that. If someone asked me, what is D flat major? 5 flats. Like I knew the key signatures. So when I started music theory classes, I made a lot of connections in my head because I knew my key signatures. So I will say to you, on Instagram, you are learning music theory in a sense. You're learning what rhythms are. You are learning what key signatures are. You are learning music terminology. So what's a rubato? What's an accelerando? You're learning about articulations like accents, staccatos, tenutos. And you're not sitting down and formally reading a book about it. You're actively learning it. Those are parts of music theory. So in a way, you are learning music theory without it being black and white labeled for you. I hope that helps. I will say, if you want some Etude recommendations, Dotsauer are some great etudes for beginner, intermediate players, some of the Dotsauer etudes. The Lee etudes are shorter and great for beginners. If you are in high school, early college, you will encounter Popper. And I've played through the whole book. I've studied some of the etudes multiple times. Like, every cellist knows Popper. Every single cellist that goes into higher education, or even not, even if you study it as an adult, you'll encounter Popper, I promise. If you study with me, you'll encounter Popper. I'll share the wealth. I had to learn them, and they're very helpful. But I will say, I got super well versed in music theory because of college. Because I went to a conservatory and I took music theory for years. At least 5 years. Maybe even 6. I took music theory for a long time. And there is that much to learn. But I will say, taking a course before I entered college was very helpful. I was able to skip first year music theory and start in second year music theory. But that goes to show you that you can enter a regular first year music theory class. I don't want that to discourage you and make you nervous about colleges. How you play and how you sound. I don't know this particular individual, if you're at the point of auditioning for colleges. I'm not quite sure how old you might be, but how you play, how you, your stage presence, how you perform, if you get to work with a cello professor as a part of your audition, are you a collaborative student? Do you take feedback and try things out? Or are you stubborn and don't want to change? That is what conservatory professors are going to care about more, rather than if you can analyze a Bach chorale. Because you can, that's kind of what college is for. Hope that helps. I am on a whirlwind this week, just talking and talking and talking. Let's go on to more questions. I hope that helped you. Don't want to miss questions from Instagram. Okay, I'm going to hop to YouTube. Do you have any suggestions for achieving backward extensions for stiff fingers? Yes, I do. And I will tell you, I'm sorry, I'm just plugging these videos because I put a lot of thought and care into them. There's a video on my YouTube channel for backwards extensions. Yes. Yes, there is. Yes. I'm like 85% sure. Because I have this running idea of YouTube vlogs in my head. But I'm like 85% sure I made that one. But if I haven't, I will soon, I promise. For those of you watching on YouTube, I'm referring to videos on my channel, and after the stream, I'm going to put them in the description just so you can find them more easily. These were questions from Sally and Woodside Story. Fun name. Asking about extensions. So I'm going to link some videos on the YouTube stream. But yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about backwards extensions. So the first thing is you need to have the right wrist motor movement. A lot of people do extensions and they try to turn with their elbow like this. That's not going to help. You might be able to get the note, but guess what? Your whole hand form has changed when you do that, right? When we're in, you usually first encounter extensions in first position, our hand is facing this way. It's a horizontal. So when you turn, you're making your hand shape vertical, and then you got to come back. You don't want to change your left hand form. The only time it changes is when you go into thumb position, which is a whole nother avenue, but at that point your hand is vertical. So, but again, when you're in thumb position, you don't want to change this. So you got to stick with your zone and hand direction. So that's number one. The correct motor skill, the wrist motion, it's like you're drinking a glass of water. Like, I'm going to do it in real time. So I take my water like this. It's this motion. This is what you need, this wrist motion. And then I would have you lift your fingers straight up. That's motion 2. Now the thing is, a lot of students, because we're told all the time to curl our fingers, they try to do the extension with a curled finger. But the problem is when you do that, you're losing out on inchage. You're losing out on inches. So I tell students to do extensions with a straight finger, and you're gonna lean on the side. That's the part that hits the string. And that is something a lot of students miss because you're always playing on the pad of your finger, but when you are leaning on the string for an extension, it's the side of your finger. The time that you want the pad is fourth finger. Just holding it a little closer. So fourth finger, you're going to keep on the pad, but first finger, and you see I'm doing the wrist motion. So if you go to first position and you go, all right, cello doll, I'm going to try this out. So I tell students to point up to your ear and then lean back with that wrist motion. Notice I'm not making a huge arc. It's very, very small. I just did this to prove the point, to really ensure you get that motion. So you might hear a little fuzz like what you heard just now. Well, then you just lean a little back more. You lean a little more of your weight into that finger and you'll get rid of the fuzz. So I hope that helps. Stiff fingers. Another thing you can do is the hop. Like that. Excuse me, so 4, 1, 4, 1, 4, 1. Little hop back and forth like that. And that's going to help. And then, so I'm doing 4, 2, 1, or start on regular 1. So that is a high 4 extension. We've been talking a lot about low 1. Now we're talking about high 4. So a common thing that might not be apparent is when you open the hand. So this shape is the same shape, whether it's high 4 or low 1. It's the same shape. Same shape. And with that shape, thumb is always with 2. Just like when you're in first position, thumb is with 2. Extension, thumb is with 2. Some students try to keep the thumb in the middle and they wonder, why is there tension here? And why is my fourth finger flat? I can't get the extension because your thumb isn't with 2. It's stuck in between. It's uncomfortable. So when you open the hand, open, the thumb has to travel with 2. So 1, thumb slides down the neck for that X2. It's a common notation for extensions, X2. 1, you slide the thumb, and now my thumb and 2 are happy, and the G sharp is right there, or the high 4 is right there. I tried to speed through an extension lesson for you. I hope that was helpful. Yeah, so the stiff fingers, I wonder if you are trying to do an extension with a curl rather than a first finger and leaning on the side, and whether your thumb is in the right spot. So I hope that helps. And again, I'll find a link to that video and put it in the comments. All right, I saw another question on Instagram. I feel cello tutorials focus too deeply on technique, but not enough on rhythm, intonation, theory, sight reading in an instrument. Why do you think that is? A very, very interesting observation. I will say, I do have some clips on music theory things, but I will agree with you, most of my videos are on technique. And I think that's really interesting, and you're making me really think about my content. No, but I think because learning an instrument for the first time is so unusual for our bodies, right? So like very quick for the cello, my legs are, I'm sitting with my legs open so the instrument can sit here. When else am I going to sit like that? Number one. I'm not supposed to touch the back of my chair. If I'm eating at a dinner table, actually, I don't know if I lean on chairs anymore. But if I want to relax, I do. But I don't think I do anymore. That's weird. Anyways, for cello playing, high elbow, low elbow, low elbow, high elbow. Where else in our everyday life do we have opposite elbow heights? So I will say, playing an instrument, your body has to learn a bunch of different things. And it is so much happening at once that I think that's why content creators focus a lot on techniques. And I will say most of the questions I hear in lessons, in classes, a lot of questions are focused on technique. And I think when someone is more comfortable with technique, that is when you might learn some music theory. There are quite a few videos on rhythm, but then again, a lot of it is defining what's a quarter note, what's an eighth note. But what about complex time signatures? What about articulation markings? You make a very valid point. And I just think when a lot of students first start out, they are so distracted by the physical, and justifiably so, because again, physically it is a lot to wrap your head around. I just think people think that's where the need is for video content. But I will tell you something, a criticism I have for my own channel is I need more content for intermediate players. There is not a lot of content for intermediate players, which is something I noticed. And that is the point in your development where you will feel more comfortable to learn music theory. So if you're an intermediate cellist and you've been searching for videos and you haven't found that many, I apologize. I promise it is something I am thinking about. Because a lot of people put beginner videos like how to hold your cello, how to play a G major scale, how to play tunes like Twinkle Little Star. And then there's advanced videos, how to practice Haydn concerto, how to play a 4-octave major scale. So there's a lot of video content on that. How to rehearse with a pianist, how to collaborate in a string quartet. There's a lot of advanced videos, a lot of beginner videos, but there's not a lot of intermediate videos. And that can be very, I don't want to say discouraging, but kind of a letdown where you're starting out on your cello and you have all these resources available and you're so excited. And then as you progress, those resources seem to fizzle out and you can't find as many. Now, I always encourage people to study with a teacher because that's going to be a primary source of encouragement and knowledge for you. I will say to get the most out of your instrument, and I say this knowing that I'm a content creator, you will not reach the full potential of your instrument from YouTube videos. You need to supplement videos with in-person, individualized lessons. So I'm not saying to avoid YouTube, but I think you need to supplement it because a video can't tell you, oh, hey, you can't do that because your elbow's too high. Like a video, you can kind of do investigative work and type, why am I squeaking, and find possibilities, but a teacher will say, you are squeaking because of this. Again, I'm kind of answering your question and then some, So I apologize for my rant. I'm just in a very chatty. I just had coffee. That explains a lot. I'm like, why am I just so chatty? It's because I just had coffee. Sorry. There you go. I hope that helps. Again, I just think, I know myself, a lot of my content is inspired by what my students ask me in lessons and what I see people, oh, I forgot what I was going to say. I saw something and I thought it was a question. Yeah, a lot of my content is inspired by what my students ask me, and kind of things I figure out in my teaching, and I go, oh, that seemed pretty helpful. I want to make a video on that. But no, I agree with you. And you know what I wonder too is if content creators are worried about the niche. Because in a way, you do have to make videos for your niche, and they might think, oh, there's a lot of music theory teachers with channels or with video content, and I don't know if my video will make an impact. Well, related to the instrument. Related to the instrument. I have a video on intonation where I talk about intonation and then how to practice it on your cello. So that's an example. But it might be why you don't find a lot of music theory, cello related content. Hello to the people joining us. I'm getting some new hellos. Someone wrote, I love the sound of cello. I would love to own one, but it would take a long time saving. Yeah, you do need to save a lot. But if you ever wanted to give it a try, I highly recommend renting cellos rather than buying one. Day to day, it's less expensive, and you don't get buyer's remorse of buying something for a value and then realizing you don't like how it sounds. With renting, you can try out instruments. So just an option if you are really passionate about starting an instrument and want a more affordable way to do so. And I will tell you, if you find an instrument shop, ask if they have an equity program, which is when an equity program is when you are building, it's kind of like how interest works, but it's in your favor. So basically, if you rent, some shops offer this. If you rent, let's say you pay $100 a month to rent an instrument. They might take 10 of those bucks and put it in a pool, so that if you want to buy an instrument from them someday, they'll go into your equity, take out that money, and put it towards your instrument. So you're paying rent, but you're also kind of building a piggy bank for buying an instrument. So ask if a shop offers that. A lot of them do. Okay, so make sure I'm not missing the questions. I don't want to leave any dolls behind ever. What do we got? Any more questions on the gram? I don't see any. I don't see any questions on Instagram. I hope I answered. I don't hear anything from more people that asked previous questions, so I hope I answered what you were asking. Very good point brought up today about the music theory, lack of music theory centric videos for cellists. I think that's a very interesting idea. And, you know, I love hearing suggestions from dolls because these videos are for your benefit, of course. I do want to talk about in the last couple minutes until I see a question, I want to talk about some exciting stuff that is happening with Cello Doll and etc., especially the album, which is my existence. It is something I am constantly working on. Oh, someone wrote, you missed 2 of my questions. I'm sorry. I'll try to find them. I'm sorry. I mean, if you could type them again, I'd greatly appreciate it. I saw your question on music theory. I saw your question about to my friend on Instagram, I don't know if your comments went through. If you could retype them, please, that would be great. Because I scrolled up and I couldn't find them. So if you could please retype them, I would greatly appreciate it and love to help you. But I will say really quick, while those questions are coming, album is scheduled to come out late this fall, and I've been working on it a lot. If you want behind the scenes footage on my album production, I am making a monthly vlog series for my patrons on Patreon. And you can, on Instagram, visit the link in my bio. Yes, I did not see that question. Thank you. If you could retype it, please, that'd be great. But no, I don't see that in my feed. Link in my bio on Instagram or video description on YouTube. You can find a link to my Patreon. You get exclusive content you won't find anywhere else. And you can get that for about the price of 2 fancy coffees for the entire year. So it's a great deal to get exclusive content. And of course, you can contribute more and unlock extra content. But if you're interested in that, check out my Patreon, link in bio on Instagram or in the video description on YouTube. Final questions. Score studying. Oh, can I sight read full scores, transpose instruments like a conductor? So I will say the cello is a concert instrument, meaning if I see a C, I'm gonna play a C. It's a concert instrument. All string, classical orchestral instruments are in C. Transposition, you do transpose in a way when you play in tenor clef, for those of you who might have encountered tenor clef. And but I will say, as a string player, we don't need to transpose as much as wind and brass players might. For example, clarinet, French horn, a bassoon is a concert instrument. Oboes transpose. Yes, I believe oboes transpose. I will say I want to get better at transposition, because often in gigs, you might have to transpose on the spot. Someone might say, hey, this chart we've been playing, play it, we want to change the key. So can you just adjust it? Thanks. That can happen. So that's a goal of mine, is to get better, but I am pretty good at score reading. I will say I studied composition also while in college. I got a dual major with cello and composition. So I had to compose things for orchestra. So I had to get very knowledgeable of how to read a score and how to transpose for that class. So yeah, if I couldn't sit at a piano and play it as well as the conductor, but I can fluently read scores, yes, and most professional musicians can. especially in classical training, you often encounter scores. Yeah, I think being able to transpose fluently is great. I mean, I know how most of the instruments transpose. It's a little dusty, but yes, you can even take your own cello music and try to transpose it as you're playing it. You know, you can do it in your practice room with your pieces. And then we will have to close with this final question. Let's see. Sorry, on Instagram it just bumps the chat. When you practice slow tempo, what do you do in order to not get too stuck at quarter tempo, half tempo for too long? Sure, that's a good question. You need to, because I agree with you, if you're playing something fast and you start slow, you can get kind of comfortable in that and you go, oh, do I really have to go faster? It sounds really good. If you're happy with how it sounds, then that means you got to go faster. So I would set a time limit, a flexible time limit. So give yourself maybe 4 to 7 days. I usually do 7, but it depends on how difficult the piece is. So I usually do my tempo changes on a weekly basis, but if I change it and I don't like how it sounds and I find like maybe my intonation isn't as good, so let's say I'm practicing something at 60 beats per minute and I try 80 and I don't like my intonation, I'll do 70. I'll try to find something in the middle as a happy medium. But if you can play it confidently through without stopping, without hesitating, and if you can maintain your intonation, your technical goals and the musical goals, so dynamics, are you getting all the dynamics? Are you getting all the accents, staccatos, articulation markings? If you can consistently nail those basics, then you should move on. You know, there is the challenge of being self-aware in the practice room, and you have to be your own detective at all times to really listen and hear what's going on. All right, my dolls, thank you all so much for a fabulous live stream today. Wonderful questions. I love how curious you all are and how you want to achieve that self-awareness and you know what you want to work on and you want to apply yourself to achieve your goals. That's an amazing thing, so don't take that lightly. Yeah, I'm so happy to help however I can. And I will have another stream like this in August. This one was much earlier this month because I am going to be traveling soon and I am going to be staff and a little bit of artistic faculty for a festival. So you can check out my Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I'll post updates on my traveling adventures in July. And yeah, thank you all so much for your contributions. Happy practicing. Chelly also says happy practicing. And we will see you in August. Bye, my dolls.